Good evening, everyone. And this is off topic, but happy 420. Smoke them if you got them. Good news for Blue Origin yesterday, punctuated, however, with a glitch that was vaguely important. Theros ordered a satellite to advance its space data center ambitions, so that part's on its way. Planet IQ got a 15 million StratFi contract. It's like the second company's got one, I think. SpaceX moved up its vesting schedule for employee shares before IPO. Maybe you saw our report the other day about the insurance plan for Blue Origin. Space Force, with all that new money, is going to after a lot of commercial services. So you folks take some notes, all right? NASA got some pushback on its assessment of the LEO market at the Space Symposium last week. Lockheed Martin got a $105 million Space Force contract. Rocket Lab gets his day in court and wins. How about that? Cetus Space announces pricing of a 58.5 million registered direct offering of Class A common stock. That's space and money, folks. North Star is going to go public via a SPAC, of all things, to expand their space-based SSA network. And China wants to step up international space cooperation, but interestingly, not with its biggest competitors. All that and lots of guests for our podcast 100th episode celebration. Stick with us. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. Well, as you know, it's our 100th episode, and we're going to have some fun tonight, man. We're having a special 90 minutes tonight. And of course, it is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, like all our 100 episodes. And what do? We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events at world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So just go to cscf.space/support and click that plain as day donate button. Little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. Speaking of friends, my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, who just finished polishing his shield of the Trinity, is here with me. Michael, come on in, man.
Hey, how's things?
Hey. Good. I always find something, don't I?
I actually had to look that up. The Shield of the Trinity. I'm like, what is that?
There is so much iconography involved in all the world's faiths and religions and spiritual paths. It's pretty easy. It's like hundreds of things. We could do another 100 shows of this, and I look forward to it.
Yeah. And let's remind everybody, because I'm the cult leader of the space elevator, the lunar elevator community. Like, you always throw in one of those references. I'm like, all right, I get most of them, but I had to look that one up. So you threw me on that. So nice job. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad I'm doing my job. It's all part of the work.
Yeah.
Get people guessing.
It worked. I had to look it up. It was kind of funny. I'm like, oh, that's kind of badass, actually. So cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's going on? How's things? What are you up to?
What am I up to? I'm doing the same old this week on a lot of things I've been working on. I just finally got a few things I was way behind on out of the way over the weekend, and now including you. And so it was, and now I can go back to some of the other things I'm falling behind on and start working on those with a renewed focus and determination. Someone says vague. It's vague.
It's vague.
Yeah.
I want to say thanks for, all the work that you've been doing on International Space Development Conference. ISTC is coming up soon. And, just want to appreciate all the effort that you've put into that. Thank you. And it's going to be a great event. So
it's going to be huge.
Really looking forward to that. Yeah.
So everybody needs to come to that. If you're not signed up for it, get out there and sign up for it. By God, nss.org. And it's you go out there and you just click. There's a link you can click to register for the conference. It's in McLean, Virginia, or Tyson's Corner, depending on how you look at it. They do it both ways, so I don't know. But it's where it is. It's about equidistance from GCA and IAD airports. So either way you go, you're in pretty good shape. Hope to see you there. It's going to be a great time. June 4 through
7. But there's laggards and pre-stuff on both sides. So
Yep. Absolutely. Here's what we're doing tonight. We have, as part of our celebration, we're going to talk a lot about this show and what it does for humanity, hopefully. And we've got 6 guests tonight. They're coming in, and we divided it into 3 segments of about roughly 30 minutes each. Michael and I are going to do 3 or 4 news items. We've got like 11 of them tonight. We're going to do 3 or 4 news items, go to our guests, have a lovely conversation with them, whatever they want to talk about, and we'll have some fun. And then we'll do 3 or 4 more news items and get our next 2 guests up. And then we finish up the 3rd segment that way. But at the very end, I have a public service announcement, which I know you're all looking forward to. And you should. You should. I'm trying to be a little bit inspirational here at the end. Okay. And now everyone's yelling at me, speed it up. Okay, let's go. Let's go, man. Let's see. And the first thing is actually, it's 2 links for the price of 1 because they're so bizarre with each other. The first one is a story about how Jeff Bezos is starting to catch up somehow with Elon Musk, and they did their successful reuse of their Blue Origin booster, and you can see it there touching down on a floating landing pad in the Atlantic, and it looks very familiar. It's not, I mean, from an engineering perspective, once you figure out how to do something, it's pretty, that's
the way you do it.
The way things go. It's the way they go. They copy it, and so it almost looked like, I mean, this is New Glenn, but it sure looks like the bottom half of a Falcon 9, doesn't it?
In the early days, yep.
Yeah. So I'm glad more people are doing this. It's great. But here's the problem, and that's what the second link's about. They had such a great takeoff and a lovely landing, and then what happened? Well, they put the customer satellite in the wrong orbit.
Whoops.
AST Space Mobile was the customer. They just issued a statement, which is really an understatement, really. They placed the Bluebird 7 satellite into an orbit that was lower than planned. Right. Yes, this is vaguely disappointing. Right?
Yeah. This is the CEO of Blue. He's like, David Limp. He's like, while we're pleased with a nominal booster recovery, we clearly didn't deliver the mission our customer wanted and our team expects.
Well, that's what Musk used to say in the early days. We had an unanticipated rapid disassembly.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
No rapid disassembly, so I'd count that as a win. But still, a little bit disappointing given how much was riding on it. And the AST Mobile, Space Mobile stock, it crashed. It dropped.
Yes, it did.
%.
It did. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably an impulse problem, as Jason says. It may not be the rocket's problem at all. Different pathways to the same goal. We'll see. We'll see how the next one plans out. But I hope they were swinging with Mutual of Omaha on that thing, so they can regroup and launch another one later without a lot of problem. Next thing, real quick, we'll get through this. Athero, I never really heard of them much. Do you know who they are?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, they have space-based data center ambitions, and they're developing something called a Titan satellite. and they say it's its most powerful computing payload yet this fall. And it wants to bring data center style processing to orbit and expand the scale of AI workloads that can be handled in space. Subscribe now to continue reading. But never mind. That's the problem with a lot of these news sources. Getting harder and harder to find something you can actually read and share with people. That they all leave you by out. Oh, you have to subscribe. Oh God, I'd be sleeping under a bridge if I subscribed to everything they wanted me to. I can't do it. So there's got to be a better way to do this. And I'm thinking about it. I'm working it through with my AI. I'm going to see what I can come up with. I think I have a model, and it's actually based on a very old model. Cool. From the early days of cable television. That will keep you. That will keep you in suspense for a while until I'm ready to talk about it. Next thing is Planet IQ is somebody else I didn't hear of.
I do know a little bit about them. Their 15 million StratFi is kind of a big deal, and I want people to understand that. Because the only way you can get into either the TACFi or the StratFi, so one is strategic and one is tactical. So
sure,
strategic is bigger, right? The only way you can get into that is if you go through the SBIR program, which was closed down for 7 or 8 or 9 months. But the StratFi and TACFi, they didn't change. They didn't get modified. So if you were in the system, you qualified for these other tools. These other tools augment and enhance, multiply private capital. So a maximum StratFi can be $60 million. You need 15 million from private capital. You need 15 million from any source in the government. And then the StratFi funds will match that 30 million into 60 million. Okay. So this is a relatively small StratFi because it's a quarter of what's possible.
Right. But they also,
big deal.
Like the second company that got one.
Well, it's not
they invited 14 companies to apply.
Yeah, no, it's the second one this year.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, Yep. But they're amazing if you could get them. I clearly have not figured out how to get one, but last year our friends at Gravitics, they got one recently. So
that's true. That's true. Okay, moving on. We want to now these developments and other developments. Let's bring in, as I say for tonight, our first two guests, Veronica Ann Reese from Arizona, and our friend Morty Friedman, who's been here more than once. Hey guys.
Hey, how are you?
How you guys doing? Talk to us. What's
Hey, do you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little buzzy, but yeah. Something's buzzy. It's not me. Usually I'm buzzy, but hey. It's 4:20, man. What do you want? So guys, what do you think? We've done this and a lot of other items in the news. I'd like to get your take on what's going on with the stuff we just talked about, and plus, I want to get your views on everything else that goes on and why you're here. Why do you like this show? Why do you keep coming back? What do you get out of it? And what would you like to see? Veronica, let's start with you.
Well, you guys, I love both of you. You know that. And you guys have done so much for this sector. And I just hearing all what's going on since I've been off grid for a while. And so now that I'm slowly but surely coming back on grid, I'm taking the temperature of the room, or I should say the temperature of the sector, seeing, where my skills can fit in, But still, it's nice to see, I always used to say when I was giving the keynotes, no bucks, no Buck Rogers. And what you guys bring to this sector is so important. We need to educate and inspire the general public in the next generation. So that way they know where their dollars are going, and it's not just going into a general fund, which sometimes it does, but but nonetheless, it's important what you guys do, and so that's why, you know, I'm one of the faithful. I'm faithful.
Thank you. You know, a lot of people don't know you or don't know your background. Can you just describe a little bit, because you're always kind of off on the sides a little bit. We, of course, know who you are, but I think you deserve to be a little bit more public.
Really?
Okay.
Well,
Or not.
human robotic space exploration and settlements. So when I was a young pup in the sector, actually I got accepted when we talked about in the last show with Marty with the space elevator competitions with the NASA space grant. I got accepted to the NASA space grant before I even got accepted to Arizona State, which is kind of rare. No, you know, I always put the cart before the horse. And then I was doing Martian studies. I worked on the Mars rover missions, determining geologic and astrobiologic important sites, both alpha and beta sites for those two missions. And then afterwards, when they landed, then I was studying concretions, which helped me when I was doing, I was a CDR for the Mars Desert Research Station. So between NASA, between the NASA Space Grant, between Arizona State, being a CDR at the station, living and working on Mars. Then I was the first crew to actually implement children under the age of 12, which were my own children. So I believe in child labor. I do. Being Italian, we do a child labor. And so even it's true. And so even the astronauts in Nemo, the submersible underwater habitat, were watching the children at the hab, how they were, you know, doing their homework, communicating with their teachers, and we all, you know, adhered to the 39-minute window of calm, you know, delay and all that. And then after a while, you know, budget cuts here and there and whatever, furloughs here and there. And then I was still at ASU. And then I translated over from Martian to lunar. And then I started working on the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter camera. And I did the calibration for the narrow angle camera and the wide angle camera, or the NAC or the WAC as we call them. And you know, in between, I was doing conferences, I was doing workshops with LROC. I was doing it with the lunar astronauts, you know, those that were still alive at the time and all that. And I even got buzzed to come to ASU. And long story short, I got a verbal spanking on that, but I covered my butt because he was there to see me, because I wanted to have the undergrads see a moonwalker. If they're going to work on a lunar mission, I wanted them to meet a lunar astronaut. And so, but I heard Bub was going to be in town, actually down the road from here. And I called him up and I said, you want to come on campus and say hi to me and say hi to the students and all? And he's like, sure. And so I had to ask permission first. And I got permission, and my principal investigator at the time said he can come just as long as he doesn't punch anybody. I was like, he's not going to punch anybody. It's fine. It's fine. You know, he's with me. It will be okay. And then I had to call up the campus photographer. And then she's like, well, who is he here to see? And I said, me. No, who is he really here to see? Me, because I was just a young pup at the time. And then I said, you can't tell anybody. So not even the president of the university knew. And so, yeah, you know, that's, I step differently than most. But, you know, he gets enough bennies there. He gets to see enough people anyways. So then it was mainly for just buzz to see the students. And I brought my father along too, because he heard all these stories of me, you know, with all the these movie stars and astronauts and all. And he, you know, he only heard about it and heard it from the kids. He never seen it. So I brought him along with me.
Right.
So I got to talk to Buzz.
Okay.
So
great. Let's get Morty into this. Morty, what brings you to our family? You were also one of the earliest fans of the show, and you're almost always here every time, and you've been a guest a few times. And what do you like? What do you not like? What would you like to see us do? What new topics would you like to see? What's in your head?
Okay, let's start. Now, first of all, thank you. First of all, congratulations on 100 episodes. That's major. So really, wow. Thank you for having me as well. Yeah, no, I think Thank you. Yeah, I think regarding all of that, definitely the format, first of all, is something, that I love. And that's, again, I think a big reason why, at this point in my career, again, there's also the fact, there's a lot of good knowledge, let's say in the beginning, where there's like different information. And of course, bringing people in is always great to hear different people's perspectives, different people's ideas, businesses, from that perspective. I just feel like, again, another big advantage, or one of the big things of the show, is it's a community in a way. I think everyone that's here feel, we're all part of something, the same people showing up. So there's definitely a much like that side. And I guess that, keeps me coming back to. Thank you. Yeah. And you guys built that. So yeah, that's, that's, I guess, really, essentially this is, the show is a really, it's a great show. It's something you can rely on in that side. I know I can rely on you guys for the, for a good broad perspective on the news. It's not so many.
One thing that I've always wondered, we do this show live, for better and for worse, for the good things and the bad thing. We do it live, and y'all tune in like appointment television. Now, Morty, you're too young to remember appointment television, but we remember scheduling. I'm going to do this on Thursday. I'm going to do that on Tuesday. I'm going to do this on Friday. And we would sit down with our friends or family, or we'd go over to our friend's house to watch shows. And yet here you are, appointment podcasting. Why? Why do you do it? Why do you do it? Because you can listen on Spotify or Apple afterwards. But why is it important to you to come every week, twice a week? Like, that's a big commitment. So thank you. But why? Why do you do it?
Yeah, I think again speaks back to the community aspect. Being there, able to ask questions, have something noticed. We're always noticing, and that's an amazing thing. I think you guys, notice everyone who's here, and thanks. So that's a huge. It's nice. It's, again, from a person, it's always nice to be seen, nice to be there. And I think, again, speaking on the side of having it as a set thing, it's something you can rely on. It's something I know my Monday nights and Thursday nights, I have news of what's going on, or what, big things to look into, or interesting articles, or some interesting talk, or, that's, yeah.
Does the news matter? Does the news matter to you? Like, we pick stuff that we like. There's this fire hose of news that comes out every day, every week. Tom and Sean are sick of me sending them 100 links a week. But and then Tom curates it down from 100 down to only 7 or 10.
7 to 10.
Does the news matter? Does that recap matter?
Yeah. Personally, to me, yes.
Silence equals dissent.
I'm just taking over the mic, but no. Again, to me, first, like, my opinion, the news does matter. I think that the selection, like I said, there's always the fact that there's 12 of them. It really, there's always something here and there. I think it ties. It also gives a good structure to the show itself, from news to feed in. So more bigger picture of the whole show. I think yes.
Is there anything you'd like to see? Special segments or special things, a theme night. What we've tried that before, sometimes successfully. We had tinfoil hat night for one time there. That was a bizarre time. I don't know if we'll do that again, but things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think to speak back on the bigger picture and the community side of it, I think definitely having those having things like that. I like to read you guys your question the other day, so maybe that's a good thing to bring back once in a while. Bringing back the I think talks. I think I think bringing back a lot of these things, bringing back the segments. Maybe you can have some nights where it's. I mean, the full news nights are that. So again, there's obviously that shifting in the show. Being able to have sometimes where it's heavy news and you have a lot of news going on, or sometimes it's an interview with someone. maybe doing more, also the group. I think another great thing that was fun were these episodes like this. Again, they can't happen too often, but the episodes there's a lot of small talking or a bunch of people. It's always nice. Yeah.
Okay. So what about the Blue Origin thing this week? And I want to ask both of you. This thing that they had a very successful early launch. Their booster came down right on time, and then like wrong way Corrigan, they just couldn't make the proper orbit insertion. They're going to have to bring the thing down and start over again. Is that a huge embarrassment as a whole, or will we just brush it off and a week from now it'll be forgotten?
Well, I don't think it's going to be forgotten. It's a first. But at the same time, the more that they keep the cadence going to kind of get that out of everybody's way of thinking, to remember it, then that's something. But again, if there's not screw ups, then, it's not a real true mission. There's always screw ups. You got to learn from all the things that happen wrong in order so that way you know what to look forward to in the future for future missions as well. At least that's how we were taught when we were going over mission cadence. So that's how I feel. I mean, it will there be more? Yes. And as the more frequency and distribution of missions and launches go over time, over the next decade, we're going to see, unfortunately, and people don't want to think about, but it's true, there will be disasters that happen, and we have to be prepared for that, and our pocketbooks may not be prepared for that. The sector can't handle that financially, but, if the private sector is doing it, then, they can pick it up much more easily than, like, say, NASA, like, say, when the Challenger happened or something along that line,
True.
So.
And especially if the next 99 are just fine, you'll stop thinking about that one down the road.
Yeah.
I was on mute. Sorry. No, SpaceX, we're very forgiving of SpaceX blowing the shit out of a lot of stuff, right? They blew up other rockets. They blew up they blew up other people's payloads. They blew up their landing craft, their launch facility, and the rocket themselves. They blew up a lot of stuff, and we gave them a lot of grace and cut them a lot of slack. So I don't think it should be any sort of like frustration when Blue comes along on number 3, their first commercial flight. But at the same time, because SpaceX has been that trailblazer, it has raised the bar for everybody else beyond it, right? So there's an expectation that we've learned our lessons there.
Right, but remember, Elon or SpaceX as a whole, more resources, as someone mentioned in the chat, but also too, when people saw that, they're like, oh, that's Musk's money. That's his own pocketbook, right? But then he went through a lot of hell as well. That there was an interview one time where he was in tears. I think it's still online. That even his childhood heroes, the Apollo boys, were telling him that he should hang it up. Yeah, that there's no reason to do it, but he still went on. And I can understand that would be disheartening to have your childhood heroes in the same sector that you're working in tell you that you're not good enough, or this isn't going to fly, literally speaking, and all that. So he did go through a lot of hell too, but he persevered, and it's hard to work for him, but look where all that hard work has gotten them to this day. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
By the way, shout out to Costa Rica. Thanks for joining us, Scott. Nice to see y'all. Let's and Doug, we saw your comment. Sean is on that, so I think we're all set. But give us a high sign if everything's okay.
You're in the third segment, Doug, so we'll figure it out.
Yep.
No worries. All right. All right. On that note, we're going to start our next segment. But Veronica Aries, is great having you on for your very first time, and welcome. We got to reintroduce you to the world. I'm so happy about that because you deserve it. And so, welcome home. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And
I love what you do.
Absolutely.
So.
Morty, always the greatest pleasure. I'm sure we'll be seeing and hearing from you again very soon.
Thank you for having me. Yeah,
Thanks so much for being great supporters. Appreciate it.
Yep. Okay.
100 episodes, man. Like, high five, buddy.
I know. We're doing good. We're doing good here. This is okay. The next thing, it's a quick one. It's off a Bloomberg, so it doesn't really, you can't really see much, but you can see the part that's important, as it has to do with the IPO of SpaceX. And they moved up a scheduled vesting date for shares that were awarded to employees as soon as next week. They were going to do it sometime in late May, and now they've moved it up to April, and it should be any minute now they're doing this. I guess they it was assuaging staffers' concerns over how much stock they have available to sell themselves, I guess, when the company itself goes public. So yeah, that sounds vaguely important. And I know there was some stuff in the news a week or so ago about Blue Origin and its employee package, and a lot of employees weren't happy about it. So maybe Elon took a hint, and said, "I'm not going to have that problem here. Let's get this sorted out."
Yeah, you can't go into an offering this big and not have your cap table crystal clear.
Yeah,
and that's what it is, right? Like,
exactly.
If I was there for 7 months and 2 days, do I qualify for this package or that package, right? You got to have that stuff just absolutely nailed down, because by the way, that number's moved up again. There's talk that it's going to go over 2 trillion. Remember when we were on this show and it was 1.5 trillion? And
that wasn't that many months ago.
Right. It was 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. And then the very next week, because of a post on X, it went up $250 billion to 1.75. And then just about 3 weeks after that, analysts, not Musk, but analysts are like, wow, it could be 2 trillion. And then this last week, there's talk about it could be even higher than that. So this thing is being fed by this hype machine that is kind of insane, and it's just media pushing the number up. So it's there's talk about it being over $2 trillion, over
wow.
2 trillion.
Well, it is 420.
Right. So anyway, I mean, like, that's got to be driving a lot of these financial decisions. All of this documentation has to be crystal clear. I'll tell you who I would not want to be right now. I would not want to be human resources at SpaceX.
Yeah.
That is probably harder than landing on a barge right now.
It probably is. Probably is, but it always is. I've never seen an HR department that was really worth anything. So it's like, yeah, okay. Half the time you have to work around them to get something done. If you really want to get something done, hire some particular person or whatever it takes, to get the job done. But anyway, that's their problem. I don't have that problem anymore. So I don't have to worry about it. Okay, what's next? What do we got? We got 4 things here. So the next thing is a quick debrief. Apparently, the Space Force budget, now they got this huge new budget, which was unveiled just, week or 2 ago, $71 billion. But they are they're seeking commercial services for all their procurement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope people watching or listening to the show are taking some notes. If you have something you think you can offer the Space Force, look for when the RFPs go out, go to the Space Force website, go somewhere over there and look for, they'll have to put out RFPs. Right. And you should, if anyone in our community, figures they have something they can add to what they do, they should look for that opportunity and go for it.
Sean, I'm going to take over the screen for a second. This document just came out 4 days ago. It was announced at Colorado Springs. The the four-star general that runs Space Force, General Salzman, introduced this thing. It's the future operating environment for 2040. Their plan is every single year, update it, and every 5 years, add another 5 years. So this is a very, very serious document that the whole industry should be looking at. It is their version of the crystal ball. Same thing with this one. It was announced this is the very same day at the very same time. This is how Space Force plans to operate. These two documents taken together, there's a lot of important stuff that's there, and there's a lot of important stuff that's not there. So this goes back to what Sean was just showing and the news article. So I would take all three of those as a set. These documents are pretty fascinating documents. Was I not sharing the screen?
Okay. All right. Yeah, all good stuff. And so, yeah, I guess stay tuned. Watch for future things. Because they're gonna have to put out RFPs and stuff to get those done. And it's a very aggressive schedule. So, and there's a lot of juice in it for everybody. So, watch for that. That's going to be very, very important.
Yeah.
Gotta go to the next one because this also I think it's very interesting. This is more news from the Space Symposium just last week. Apparently, NASA didn't make a very good assertion about the commercial LEO market. They didn't think the commercial LEO market was there yet, and they're not sure what we're going to do with all these commercial station builders, and they're raising questions about ISS deorbiting and all that. Well, at a panel, at least 3 of the private commercial space station providers sat on that panel. Who the CEO Vance said, "Hey, wait a minute. Wait just a darn minute. We believe that we can be profitable in the current market, not even waiting for the future market. And we're going to develop it, and we're going to be successful at it." And that was Max Hayat, the CEO of VAST. Good for him. And they're going to be launching, I think, early next year. They're launching their first Haven 2. But they asked for industry feedback on the alternative strategy for transitioning. And the agency doesn't have a budget to award contracts, but it's not stopping people from doing it, especially VAST. They're going out there. They also had executives from Axiom Space and Starlab, and their responses show otherwise. They put in Marshall Smith, the CEO of Starlab Space. They put in 390 pages of independent analysis, research studies, data, contracts, that kind of thing. And they're being very clear on what they can do and what that's going to look like. And of course, Axiom said, "Hey, we've flown 12 people to space that paid us money to do that. And we've flown 166 payloads so far, paying payloads, generating revenue for the company." So in other words, what the hell is NASA talking about, right?
Well, and so that problem that you just described at NASA, the blinders that NASA had, also is prevalent in those Space Force documents. They're not looking at the commercials. There's 2 giant holes in the Space Force documents, not looking at commercial development, especially in the cislunar environment, especially space stations, and almost entirely lacking of a successful Golden Dome initiative.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like big disconnects between us in industry and them in the civil sector, whether it's military or government.
We need to work our contacts. Well, here's what we need to do. I believe in their mission. I believe in their program. I think they should be doing what they're doing, and they should do it very aggressively. I'm all for it. They got the money too. Let's
Right.
And they're willing to go commercial. Let's
Right.
freaking spend it, right? And so here's the thing: we need to find somebody somewhere that's responsible for that document at the Space Force and get him on the show to explain himself.
Sean, that's a to-do list.
That would be the most fun thing we've done in a while.
Well, shout out to Doctors Gerritsen and Mosier. They were on a podcast, I think it was Saturday night. Like, they were talking about this thing. So it's out there. There are people that can talk about it. We can get them on our show for sure.
Yep. Okay. All right. Final thing, real quickly. It's just a blurb. Pop it up and go, because it's about money, so we have to mention it.
Sure.
Even though it's Lockheed Martin, but you'd expect them to secure a $105 million U.S. Space Force contract to advance GPS ground control modernization. At least it's a company I've heard of. Some of these other guys are getting these huge things, and I never heard of them before until all of a sudden they pop in out of the darkness and get a $60 million contract to do something. We're all going, so they're going, who are you? These guys we know.
These guys
good for you. Yep. Good for you. And it's at that moment right now where I think we need to bring in our next two guests. What do you think?
Love it. Let's do it.
Okay, our next two guests, Joe and Dallas. Dallas Beanhoff.
Michael, how are you?
Hey, how's things?
Things are busy, but dropping off.
Hi, guys.
How's it going?
Good to see you. What do you think of our news items today so far?
I haven't seen one I haven't heard before, so that's unusual.
Okay.
Cool. We stumped Dallas. That doesn't happen much.
No, you're
always right on top of this.
No. Usually we stump you. Usually
Right.
we have something you haven't seen.
You have at least one or two I have not seen before.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, that's
Okay.
good.
But not tonight.
Not today. Okay.
Good.
All right.
Good. Well, Dallas doesn't have much else to do because he's doing his thing and he's hiding in his bunker in Virginia. And so
Yeah, I got to go vote tomorrow.
oh no. Good luck.
So both of you have some news, right? Or at least Dallas, I know you got some news. So what is your news? What have we missed?
So at the Space Symposium,
Mm-hmm.
our CEO, Off-World CEO Jim Caravala, had a press conference. And it didn't make any of the news feeds out of the symposium. He announced the formation of Stellar World.
Right.
We are going to build cities on the moon. We are going to put data centers on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to put residences on the moon. And this is, the Stellar World is kind of the umbrella organization. And two other companies called Lunar Cities and Transplanetary. I gotta make sure I remember these right. Transplanetary Services, I believe it is, and there are links to them in our Off-World website or LinkedIn page, and the press conference. And these planetary will be the transactional companies to put out contracts to do services that companies can do, like transportation to the moon, ISRU, whatever, everything on the moon, from residences to whatever. And so that was an announcement, a big deal. The other thing, we're in the preliminary design phase of our first moon mission called Off-World Prospector 1.
Okay.
Where we intend to send an autonomous robot to do everything that Lift 1 was asked to do back in the RFI in 23, i.e. oxygen from regolith,
right.
But also icy regolith. We're going to take water from there and turn it into oxygen and hydrogen, and do everything that NASA is looking for under the ignition RFIs.
The new ones, the new ones
that
right?
were out, that are due Thursday. So we're submitting OWP1. We have submitted OWP1 for the payloads RFI that's done through Inspires. And we're going to submit one for the demonstration capabilities demonstration one on Thursday. That's just an email.
Mm-hmm.
And try to fill up the 30 plus CLIPS missions that they want to add to getting to the moon to help prepare for a lunar base.
Cool.
And so those are the things that are going on in real time. The other thing, that I'm on a task force for AIAA, that we're just wrapping up our paperwork, our white papers, and putting them into the Space and Planetary Resources magazine journal for publication. That's edited by Angel Madrid and Clive Neal. And we are putting in, I think it's 6 to 8 papers that talk about the infrastructure we need on the moon to make it sustainable, to make it permanent. And so those are, and we sent a short blurb to Jared before ignition, Jared Isaacman.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're trying to help shape the future and trying to help bring the future about and trying to create a big future. That's my.
Okay.
That's so great.
I know I saw a few clips from Jim's announcement, and he was fully expecting. He said we could have 1,000 people living on the moon by 2040.
That's what we're planning.
Yep. Okay. What's your timeline for that? I mean, I've
2040.
seen you saying specific mission. Well, but you got specific missions. Where's the money coming from? Are these all, outside contracts that you're doing to kind of leverage it upwards, or is a lot of private sector money coming in for this, or is it all, like NASA?
I can't talk to where the money's coming from. That's not my avenue. But
I have an idea, and it's real. That my own detective work.
Yeah.
There's
a lot. I will
money.
say that these opportunities under the ignition, if we get the CLIPS mission for OWP1, that's 50% of the mission cost in revenue.
Okay.
Huge.
Cool.
So the other issue is all of the other participants that are going with us that we've talked to and got proposals from, they all want us off-world to fund their development of their payload that we're going to take to the moon for free. Okay. But maybe that'll help. But we'll see. We've also got a proposal in under the STRIDE, the Rose's STRIDE opportunity, which was commercial payload transport and deployment on Mars for robotic vehicles, aerial and surface. Cool. And only commercial robot companies could apply. We've built 2 and demonstrated in mine, so kind of puts in that category.
Yeah.
So I think we have a great future ahead of us in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And then 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm looking. I'm looking forward to seeing it too. So this is, and we'll still be around in 2040. Yeah, yes, we will.
I plan to be here another 40 years.
Good. Yeah, I'm getting into all that stuff too, like DMandis puts out and people like that.
I'm just staying active and not doing anything special. Just
that's it. Tom is going to get shoved out of an airlock after a party. Oh, thanks, guys. That would be. I hope I have a suit on.
Really?
That would be good. Well, maybe. Well, Plot is going to take me anyway, so we're gonna talk to Plot later about that. So anyway, Joe, let's jump to you real quick. Yeah, I know, guys. You have been a guest multiple times. You've also been an early adopter of this show. How did you find this? What made you a fan?
How did I find you guys? I think I was just.
Wasn't it the $1,000 micro grant?
Yeah, I think that's what started it actually. Yeah. I applied for that and found out about the show and it's like, oh, this is cool. So, by the way, congratulations, guys, on 100 episodes. This is a huge milestone. That takes a lot of perseverance to get there. So, congrats on that. And twice a week. I mean, the amount of work that you guys are putting in to do that. Yeah, all 3 of you are just. The
amount of work, Sean. Like Tom and I have the easy part. Like we read the news over the course of the week, and we're like flag stuff so that we've got something to talk about on Mondays and Thursdays. That's relatively straightforward. I'm going to read the news anyway. Tom's got some curation stuff, and he writes the intro every week. That's not trivial. Like that takes a little bit of time. Me, I can just roll out of bed and just like, okay, let's do this, right? But Sean's got work to do to make this thing work. So hats off to him for sure. It's pretty easy for me.
I think you're getting to the edge. I think we're getting to the edge where we might be able to actually make a little out of this. Make it a few bucks would be really nice.
Yeah.
The audience is building, slowly. Not as quickly as we'd always like, in this business, but it's been a gas. It's been a lot of fun, and that's our next goal. Our next milestone is to actually, keep increasing the audience, and that's what we need feedback from people like you.
We've moved into
what new things can we try?
Well, I like the variety of guests that you have. Maybe adding a couple more folks from the NASA or the Space Force would be a good idea. I know they're not easy to get a hold of. I've tried, but who are the people who are working with Jared Isaacman that you could bring on? I would recommend those as
that. Yeah, I would. One show like that would make us. You know what I mean? Just one show would make us.
We had Dan Golden, former administrator. He liked one post, one episode. We got 20,000 views off of that. That just happened one time. And we're now kind of hovering around 2,000 views per show. Which is, compared to where we were, right, 100 episodes ago, we were happy to get 10. So, between 1,500 and 2,500 is a kind of a standard show for us now. And those are the clips, like the AIs. They snip out interesting elements, and then that gets posted. None of that's gone viral. We don't need it to be. It's a steady, consistent, 1,500 to 2,500, and then Apple and Spotify are about another 100 or so, and it's usually 8 to 15 people live when the show is actually recording. So y'all are kind of a core audience when you're here. But then there's that kind of ripple effect that goes beyond. So it's really fun. Yeah, it's really neat.
That's awesome. Hopefully I'm not on my screen. I'm frozen. Hopefully I'm not.
Nope.
No,
Okay.
you're fine. Yep. I haven't even been kicked off yet. This is amazing.
My computer. Yeah. In the news tonight, one of the things you mentioned was this whole change that NASA wants to do with the space stations. And sorry, I'm just going to call it as I see it. What a dumb idea.
Please.
You now want to build a module which you have no money for, no plan for, that you want to hook to the space station that other people are going to connect to, even though the space station is in probably the worst possible orbit you could ask for an orbital platform. And we did that to accommodate the launches from the Russians. We're not working with the Russians anymore. Let's go back to doing what works well. Keep our space stations in that band that has worked well for us in the past. That's what I think we should be doing. But that means don't connect to the ISS. What are you doing? It just seemed like a complete misfire. So there's my rant.
Okay.
But NASA is really moving in some great directions otherwise. It's nice to see Artemis moving along. They're making the right changes. The industry is growing up. We are moving so fast.
Dallas,
Dallas,
Tell it.
Bring it in here. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, compared to what it used to be, compared to what we were going to do before, I think that they're really starting to make the right decisions rather than the wrong decisions.
Well, I think flying out to Artemis 5 because it's funded, they kind of got to do that because it's in build and stuff. They kind of got to do that. We still need transportation nodes at our destinations and at our departure places to transition from environmentally focused systems, launch systems, in-space systems, and gravity well access systems,
Right.
other gravity well access systems. And so we need transition points.
Mm-hmm.
We need them in a good place though,
Yes.
not in a bad place.
Right.
And if you're not going to do that, an Aldrin cycler would be a good idea. Why aren't we building these to test?
Because they're not used. They're idle assets 90% of the time. Are we still here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We lost Joe though for some reason.
Oh no,
I lost Joe.
back. He's coming back.
Yeah.
We'll add
So
him. There we go.
Cyclers they're a nice idea, but they're not used all the time. They just sit idle after they go past Mars and then take 5 years to come back and be used again. I mean,
Well, I'm not saying a Mars cycler. I'm saying a lunar cycler.
it's the same thing.
It's not that. I think there's a better way of doing it, but
I think there's going to be specialization, right? We just are concluding 50 plus years of everything's got to fit in one box and launch on one flight. And now we have 6 commercial space station companies in development in America. More is happening outside our borders.
Mm-hmm.
We've got at least 3 or 4 or 5, depending on how you count it, tugboat companies in America. There's more happening outside our shores. That specialization is where we start seeing real progress. And
we need a variety of ways to do things.
Yes, absolutely. Right.
There's no one way to do this. There's no one way to do
all
this.
for elevators, but it's not a situation where if you have an elevator, you don't need a mass driver. You don't need rockets. Like that's not where we are.
Yeah,
right?
how do they all work together?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. There's been some talk about building out the integrated space plan and reissuing it, kind of modernizing it for where we are now. I would be very supportive of that. Everybody kind of like, okay, I'm doing this, you're doing that, you're doing that. How can we use each other's tools and capabilities to augment what we're doing? I think that would be very powerful.
Well, we hope Stellar World and our new companies will help bring those into an economy that's business to business rather than government to business.
Yes.
Or business to government.
I do like to see things grow organically. That's why I sometimes cringe, even though I've been an advisor to the integrated space plan. It's like, okay, it's
Me
like,
too.
these things grow organically. None of this shit's going to happen the way you've got it listed there, like it's a hard and fast thing. Because I always remember a saying, and that is, the plans change, the planners remain the same.
Yeah.
So here's a tidbit on the integrated space plan.
Okay.
The 2 developers of the initial one were colleagues of mine at Rockwell International.
Right. Yep.
It's been a while.
In the 80s.
Yep. This is going to be messy. The reality is we're opening a new frontier. It's going to be messy. It has to be messy. If you try and plan every detail, it'll never happen. We've got to let it grow. We've got to let people try things, got to let things fail and learn from those mistakes and keep moving forward. I mean, how many people died opening up the West?
And I think that's the probably the best part of ignition, the NASA ignition announcements and RFIs and opening up more flights and getting the cadence up and all that. I mean, 2 human landings a year is a great improvement over 1 every other year.
Yes. But
Yes.
it should be 1 every 2 weeks, but we'll get there.
Right. We all want more.
Well, if we get to 1,000 people, it's going to have to be 1 every couple of weeks that they can start moving those folks there. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And on
Anyway,
that note, gentlemen, Dallas Beanhoff, Joe Luttrell, thank you so much for joining us. You got one last thing?
One
I see your
last thing.
finger up.
One
Okay.
thing that you should do in the future:
Yeah.
cost versus price.
Yep.
Cost versus price.
Yep. And price versus value.
Exactly.
Very cool. All right, y'all. Thanks very much. Dallas, you and I are
Thank
going to
you.
talk soon.
Congrats again, and 2 of my longtime friends, Tom and Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, you guys take it easy.
Hey,
all right?
brothers. We'll
Bye-bye.
see you soon. Okay. Michael, we got our last 4 news items. They'll probably also be quick.
Yep. Let's be quick.
Again, it's one of these things. It's hard to do. But Rocket Lab had its day in court, and they defeated, they got into an investor lawsuit over the delayed launch of their neutron rocket. And the allegations were that they somehow misled investors about the testing and debut timeline for that reusable neutron rocket before a 2025 short seller report. And the court found that the lawsuit's theory of securities fraud by Rocket Lab CEO Sir Peter Beck and CFO Adam Spice simply does not make much sense, quote unquote. Judge George Wu of the U.S. District Court, the Federal District of California, finalized an earlier tentative ruling, basically tossing the proposed class action with prejudice.
Cannot be retried.
Yep.
This was so dumb. You can't bring it back to us and waste our time again.
Yeah. I love it too. I didn't even know they were involved in something like that. And it's like, what? Are you kidding me? What? Well, at least they had a good judge in a good court, and it got thrown out as it should be. I guess that's just ridiculous.
I had two different attorney calls today, and we're talking about budgets, like for my project. So I'm not going to get into details there, but I'm like, look, if our project is successful, we raise $350 million and we build an elevator on the moon. If our project is successful, you can assume that at least 5%, maybe 10%, $35 million is going to be spent on legal. And that's with my project that hasn't even gotten off the ground. You can imagine Sir Beck is dealing with a bigger budget for legal as a public trade company.
But when you're the first guy there doing it, what can you charge for moving stuff up and down? You're the Strait of Hormuz, man. This is like that's what you're doing. That's what you got.
I'm gonna put that in our deck.
Don't be Iran. That's all I'm saying, Michael. Don't be Iran.
Right. Don't do that. No.
Yeah, don't do that.
But seriously, I think people underappreciate, and I've said this many times. I was in a panel a year ago. They're like, what does Seattle need? And everybody's expecting me to say hardware or satellite. I'm like, more lawyers. The industry needs more lawyers.
We have a monopoly. They come on our show.
I know, right? I love them. So publicly traded company gets sued for a nonsense grievance. Yeah, I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. Would not surprise me if AST and the insurance companies huddled over whether or not they should sue Blue, right? Like it's that kind of industry. So
exactly.
Yeah. I don't love that, but I think that's where we are. This industry is growing up, and we need more lawyers.
Yeah,
but we don't need more frivolous lawsuits.
No, Okay. Anyway, another company I haven't really heard much of is Cetus Space. I guess that's how I pronounce it. They announced pricing of their 585 million registered direct offering of a Class A common stock. So that's, sounded vaguely important. It's called a pre-funded warrant. And they're offering it at $4.35 a share, exclusive of the pre-funded warrant exercise price for gross proceeds of approximately $58.5 million, before deducting the placement agent's fees and the offering expenses. Those kinds of offerings, there's a lot of costs going on in that. I mean, you talk about, 2 trillion plus, for SpaceX, and you wonder, what are the placement agent's fees for that?
Right.
Have got to be insane.
Yeah. I don't know what this warrant is. I don't remember from my securities licenses 35 years ago. I don't remember what a pre-funded warrant means. Do you know what that means?
Not really. Sometimes, in some cases, for their initial investments, they got what they call cash and warrants, and so some of these people that originally put the investment in, they put in their cash, but they also expected warrants, like a small percentage. If they do go public, they have a small percentage of the shares that are kind of blocked out for them.
Okay.
At a low strike price, and so and that's what near as I can tell, that's what that is. And so they're now. It's time to collect. It's time to pay out the warrants. So obviously they're doing pretty well if they can do that. If they're willing to make that deal, now they can make good on it. That's good for them. Good for them.
All right, let's move on. Sean's kicking us down the road here.
I know.
He's good.
Yeah, we got 2 more real quick ones.
Yep.
North, because it's also space news, so we don't get to read much. North Star is going to go public via a SPAC. Remember SPACs? We talked about this before.
Lots of times.
They have a space-based SSA network, a space situational awareness network. And so obviously they have a lot of government customers, I presume. And I guess they're going public via SPAC so they can expand that network.
By merging in with the Viking Acquisition Corp. I don't have a lot of good things to say about SPACs. I can think of 1 or 2 that were moderately successful. But I don't think SPACs are good for this industry. At least they have proven historically to be very, very kind of on the fence. So curious. Good luck to them. I hope they do well. But for me, it needs more research.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final thing tonight, I just had to mention China. I found this thing. It was kind of quirky. It says China to step up their international space cooperation this year. They're actively going to promote international space cooperation, but they're doing a China-Europe SMILE satellite. It's called Solar Wind Magnetosphere Ionosphere Link Explorer. Aims to reveal the interaction processes and evolution patterns, but it's part of the China-Brazil Earth Resources Satellite Program, extending 4 decades of cooperation between those 2 countries. But they're saying they want to do, they're doing something with Italy. They've joined something with Italy. So they're working with Italy. They're working with Brazil. But it's not like they're working with the U.S. or they're going to work with Russia or they're going to, work with ESA, or something like that. I mean, they're not. They like doing cooperation with people that don't have much, in some cases, and that so they can be the dominant player. But working on a long-term project with any of the other big main stage players, it's still off their radar. So,
right. Pointing out that this is a Chinese news website talking about how great China's partnerships are. Right. So, bias built into the source, of course, but but still it's good, right? Like, I'm a globalist, and I think space is done better working together. That's not to say I'm going to start working with China any day soon, but I do think that they have a role to play in opening this new frontier. And the BRICS nations have been partners with China for quite a while, so it makes a lot of sense that they would connect in with Brazil.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
the
yeah.
national-
Yeah, of course, as Dallas said, it was the Silk Road to space and bankruptcy.
Yeah. Heck yeah. That Silk Road is one of the smartest diplomatic plays I have maybe seen in my lifetime. I mean, really, it's a good economic diplomatic maneuver that has paid off immensely for China. So good for them. Not so good for us, but very good for them.
And at this point, let us bring in our final two guests of the evening, Jason and Dr. Doug. Jason, Thomas Becker, thanks for coming. Hey, guys.
How's things?
Tom, Michael? Loving it.
Loving it.
Okay, what are your thoughts on it all? What's the big picture for you guys tonight?
Well, I just wanted to say, I think one thing that really makes the show work really well is you two guys. I think you got this little banter or, personalities. If it was just one of you and not the other, I think the show would be much worse.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad.
Right.
You guys keep it going and trigger each other, and I think it's really awesome. That way, you guys are obviously good friends. I don't think you really get into much arguments, but you keep stimulating each other to carry on the conversation.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of
Only because I haven't wanted to start one yet, a serious one, but we'll go.
We have known each other for a long time. Whatever our differences are, we're like, they're not as important as our friendship is.
Exactly.
And we do have differences, but they don't devolve into an argument, right?
Yeah.
It's a difference of opinion, but that guy's been around for a long time, and he has a lot to teach people. And I feel like I get a lot out of him, every conversation. So, it's good. Yeah, right. For real.
Yep.
For real. Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it, Dr. Platt.
Sure.
Jason, you've always been on the sidelines. This is the first time you've ever been on camera, so thanks for that. You're one of our kind of long-standing fans. We figured we'd want to kind of get you in on this celebration, but same question to you. What keeps coming? What keeps you coming back? And I saw in your chat earlier that you liked the tinfoil hat episode, which I have very mixed feelings on. I remember Doug was super confused, like, what the hell is going on here? So Jason, give us your read on tinfoil hat episode, and why do you keep coming back? Why is this appointment podcasting for you?
Because of the exposure to an understanding that it's more than science. It's more than just experimenting. You have to understand the different levels, everything that everybody that is involved in your science has to go through to get something even published.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea before Mike Thomas and before Thomas and Michael introduced me to Sean, who really brought it all together and just blew my mind about everything, forced me to, dive down and go further into resource studies and materials and start working at it just to find more out about it.
No kidding. Wow.
Cool.
Wow. That's great. Thank you. That's really
well. Everybody has to get their supplies from something. It starts out as rock. It gets to dust somehow.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to blow it up. Me and Joe.
Well, all right. So why the conspiracy theories show? We've only done that once. we're definitely lukewarm about whether to do it again. Why was that interesting to you? Because yeah, it was an odd show for us. So for me, especially, why was that?
It was more
interesting?
than science.
More than science. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
I like to try new things, so we're going
It was about whatever in your minds and not everybody. Definitely brought me out.
All right. Yeah. So you weren't as much of a fan of it because you were perplexed, right?
Well, I simply arrived late. I presumed you guys announced what you were doing, and then I arrived. I'm like really confused, and I remember I posed like, "Help me understand what's going on here." And then, in fact, Michael, you did explain. I'm like, "Okay, I get it."
Okay.
To me, I think you guys were having a lot of fun, and it was great fun. And I would vote for it again, even though I'm not definitely a conspiracy theory fan at all.
So,
well, here's something for both of you. This show is, as we always say, our show is at the intersection of space and money. Is there anything else we should add?
I mean, I'm much more of a technical guy. You know, I'm not just a physician, I'm a biophysicist. And so I think about how things work. And, you know, I think about, you know, the Starship fleet. I mean, I sort of disagree with what was said earlier that we can't predict the future. Well, I think there's certain factors that I think will be dominant. And I mean, we'll see if it's true, but I think the Starship fleet is going to play a huge role in what happens. And I think if you understand that capability, a fleet of fully reusable super heavy lift vehicles, I think you can begin to imagine what could be done with 100-ton payloads, you know, per seat price going way down. So I guess I'm of the opinion that I think we ought to plan our way based upon what is probably going to happen. But I would say I think you do get the technical side in, but it's not, your show isn't primarily about the technical side. There's other channels that deal with that quite nicely. You need to focus on what you guys are good at, and that's the financing of space. And you gotta bear in mind how it affects the technical, or the technical affects it, because obviously if you have the money but you don't have any specific way to spend it, well, you're not going to accomplish anything. But if you have the great rocket or the habitat or whatever, but you can't fund it, well, that's not going to work either.
Exactly.
So you're showing this part, and honestly, your guys' show, when you do the analysis of the news, there's news analysis on many different channels, and you've got your focus, and it's a real contribution, I think, to actually the space obviously community, and I don't think you can get that anywhere else. Not the depth that you guys do.
Okay.
That's so nice to hear.
Well, it is. It's lovely to hear. I want to correct one thing, because it's not that I don't believe that you can predict the future. Can't predict the future. You can predict it in certain broad brush terms. My issue with the integrated space plan is that they tried to get too granular about it. That was my complaint.
Yeah, they start
the
pushing.
chart was too busy. It was too
the
granular.
2050s, the 2100s, like they pushed so far out that it was a fantasy document, not a planning document.
Right.
Well, I emphasize the near to medium term. You know, I'm totally open that one day we're going to have alien settlements in the asteroid belt. I do believe that. Mm-hmm. It's just that, you know, it gets really blurry the further out you go. So I think, you know, first things first, we need to focus on what needs to be done initially.
Take a look at this new document from Space Force, because their box is now to 2040, and I think several things on there are wrong and missing, but this is where the U.S. government Space Force is going, and whether they're right or wrong, they're going this direction. Right. And they're
wanting it updated annually.
Yeah. So they
constant
do have
improvement.
That's their crystal ball. So there are multiple crystal balls out there.
In my opinion, these plans, like NASA has plans for a, they've got images of a base, permanent base. I don't see that permanent base obviously having been developed by a fleet, literally dozens to hundreds of fully usable rockets, super heavy lift vehicles. That little base doesn't come from that. And yet when late this year, Q4, maybe, Q4 of this year, when you have Starship target, a propellant depot, and then it docks and transfers and stores propellant, which I think is, by the new year that that's going to be demonstrated.
Yeah.
When that happens, these plans, it has to change. It doesn't make any sense to have that sort of capability and not use it. So, you got to have, but it's got to be based on what's probable.
So this wasn't part of the news, and this was a document I literally had up. We've talked about before, the Space Capital folks put this document out every quarter. We have deeply examined it. We weren't going to do it during today's show, but I want to point out just one piece. In the last 12 months, $90 billion has moved into the industry. In the last 3 months, 36 billion of 148 companies have been funded in this sector. Tom and I are always willing to admit, like, we don't know company A, B, C, and D. We announce it on the show. We're like, I don't have a follow-up because there's 150 companies in the last 90 days, right? That is how complex our ecosystem is that guys who really love this stuff can't follow it all, right? And so you can't build. So NASA,
14 hours a day, doesn't matter.
right? No, NASA's plan, it's automatically outdated. Space Force's plan is automatically outdated. Integrated Space Plan is automatically outdated. Even SpaceX, we had Dallas Bienhoff on his Stellar World vision, which, by the way, you should look up what they're doing and go find their YouTube channels because it's really exciting. But
transplantation services.
When this one show, we've talked about 5 different potential futures, all think that their plan is right, and what's going to happen is all of them are going to be interspersed, and some pieces of all of them will probably be real. That's an amazingly dynamic environment that is super exciting, but pretty confusing. Yeah, it's pretty confusing. Yeah.
Enough for everybody to move forward.
I hope so. Yep. So same questions I had for y'all, for the other folks. Doug, you're often in the I won't say OR. You're at the emergency room often when our show starts, and you show up 10-15 minutes after we're rolling and cooking. Why do you plan around this show?
Well, like I say, especially with you two guys going at it together, it's awfully entertaining, actually. And so I get, from Sean, I get a notification, and I always on LinkedIn, and I always click, I want to be reminded about it. And I hate to say, probably if that feature wasn't available, I'd probably forget it. And yet it shows up, and it's like immediately. I mean, it's on a calendar. It basically comes to me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm finishing up with patients, but let me go ahead and click and join in. I myself, not everybody's like this, but I myself, I really do enjoy, as you know, participating. I don't want to be just a spectator, and so I join the comments. I would say I posted, you guys say something, I post a comment, and then it's like 20 minutes later, finally you guys get around to it. So I guess you're not really closely following the comments. It would be nice.
Following the comments, it's just that, sometimes we get so overwhelmed with what's happening in our face right that minute.
Right.
But there's so much to process and to respond to. By the time I say, Sean's comment or Doug's comment is like way down here, and when the topic has changed, I go, oh fuck, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's horrendous some days. Others.
it's also editorial decisions, right? Like what is the guest saying? Have we moved on? Sean's really good about, hey, Plata had this comment. Did you catch it? So there's three of us kind of scanning all the time, but definitely our priority is on our guest.
Well,
and
wanted to news item, but
yeah, news. Yeah, it's harder to do that. Well, that's a different answer then, because usually when we're doing news, I'm not even looking at this screen. That's on a different tab. I'm reading the news, like I know the order that we're doing this in. I'm like, okay, we're on the fourth article. I'm reading the article while Tom's talking. Tom's reading the article while I'm talking. And we're not even on this screen. With the screen that has your chat, we're not even looking at it for
Right. I've got a completely different browser window open.
Right.
With
So
all the links to all the news stories, and more often than not, I'm looking at that. I'm trying my best to kind of focus. I'm hoping I'm in the camera, because I have no visual feedback at all. I'm focused
and there's a whole nother screen off to the side that I'm mostly ignoring. But yeah, so that's not a you thing or a comment. The chat. It's we're literally not even looking at it during the news feed component of it. So that's why it's like, oh, we're 3 articles in.
Right.
Shit, Doug said something smart. We should maybe go back to it. That's what happens.
As a periodic guest, I find it painful to be kept to 30 minutes, but you guys have to do what you have to do. But man, it's like, it's always a rush to get it in, and then it's just done. And I understand you guys need to.
Oh my God, I wish there had been another way to do this segue, but we actually do need to close down.
But the show pacing, it's very important.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I always appreciate Doug coming on because a few weeks ago, he wants to build this big inflatable habitat on the moon, and he basically said, if I get done with the next 10 years, Tom, you can come.
Yeah,
I'm holding you to that. So just stay healthy. That's what I'm doing.
That's the reason we even do this show at all, is just to collect IOUs from our friends who are going to go do something.
That's right. That's exactly it. We got it for each other too. So it all works.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody's going to have to hump the regolith bags.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because
we are going to close this out. Yep. Dr. Plata, Jason, thanks so much for being a part of this. It's super important that y'all are here. Thank you so much. And Tom, nice job. 100 shows.
I know, man. It's hard to believe some days. It's like, wow, we got this far. Most podcasts don't last more than 20. No. And here we are, man. And we're still hanging in there. I guess now the next milestone is to actually make a few bucks off of it and do even more interesting things. And Michael, thank you for being my partner in crime on this for so long. I do appreciate it, and I know you have other things going on. You got a lot to do, and it's harder for you to make the time for this, and as you used to. But I do enjoy your company very much, and thanks for being a friend and for doing this with me. It's been a great run.
It really.
And we're going to be doing a live show at ISDC, you and I, and that's going to be super fun too. It's actually on the schedule, so we should fill the room.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, thanks so much. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is what I want to close out with today. Now there is a link. Just put it in the Sean. Just put it in the chat. There was a link I had for this. Before I go to what I want to say, I just wanted again, thanks to all the guests and the viewers and the listeners to this program and the amazing crew. Michael Lane, I just talked to Sean Key, who's been an absolutely outstanding, just ragingly good producer, and our new assistant producer, Rachel Souza, who just joined us recently, and she's doing some great work, and thank her for coming in. And I know we got We got other folks going to be coming in soon too, but we'll take care of them later. At this point, there was not long after the Artemis launch, some publication, I think it's based out of Australia, printed the standard thing that we've been hearing for like 60 years. Why do we bother going to space when there's so much problems here at home, and we should just save the Earth and not spend money on space at all? Never mind the fact that in the Apollo days, NASA took up as much as 6% of the federal budget, and had 400,000 people working on it. Compared to today, where NASA is doing amazing things, considering I think their percentage of the federal budget today is only 0.35% of all government spending. So we're getting a lot of bang for the buck out of them, and I wouldn't put that down one bit. And cutting it off entirely wouldn't put a dent in any of the other problems that we have in the world that we're facing. But I didn't want to talk about this myself. All I wanted to do is read you a comment from an interesting guy, and I thought he said it so much better than I did, that I wanted to share that with you as kind of a public service announcement to take out the show. The man's name is Craig Jones. I presume he's Australian and is a reader of this particular publication. But what he had to say, I thought was so interesting. I just wanted to share it with you all. So here we go. And I'm quoting now, Craig Jones. At what point do we draw the line on what is truly worth doing? What deserves our time, our minds, and our lives? Your article dismisses space travel as futile and demands we divert every resource to saving Earth. Fair enough to have that opinion, but in writing it, you've created something you could just as easily label worthless. A paid piece that tears down an entire field of human endeavor the author doesn't fully understand, takes pot shots at the very people investing their lives in expanding humanity's future, and offers nothing constructive in return. The ironies stick. You mock meaningless pursuits while producing an article whose only real benefit is entertainment and clicks. That's the same value system you're criticizing. Journalism itself only exists because readers assign it value through attention, shares, subscriptions, and the advertising that keeps the lights on. The computer you typed it on, the internet that delivered it, and the electricity powering both came from the very polluting industries and infrastructure you rely on every single day. Everything is connected. Nothing exists in a vacuum. We assign value to military spending because we collectively value safety and strength. We assign value to your article because enough people click, read, and keep the publication alive. Space travel only receives funding because enough of us see it as an investment in extending human consciousness beyond one fragile planet. The moment society stops valuing any of these things, the money dries up. Blaming them for having resources is pointless. We, as a civilization, gave it to them. If you genuinely want different priorities, stop writing clickbait takedowns and start changing the way you invest your own life, your own mind, and your own voice. Stop writing societal trends and start living what you actually believe in. And maybe resist the urge to ridicule the dreamers, trying to extend the story of conscious life beyond the single rock we call home. Because tearing down visionaries doesn't save the Earth. It just makes the future smaller. Thank you all for being here on this 100th episode. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the sky.